Excuse me as I try to do this video. I've been sick this week. Don't have too much of a voice and have a pretty bad cough. But anyway, so the speaker in this video is James Henry, and he starts off about how he's going to be talking about a very painful subject called taxation. And he believes that citizens in a democracy have a responsibility of making fair taxes. And right at the beginning of the video, he is stuttering. Not just like a little bit, but a lot. And which to me isn't really the best thing to do when giving a speech. So to start out, he starts talking about how Apple makes $100 million a year of tax-free profit because of the games private bankers know how to play. And he then gets into talking about medieval times. In medieval times, people couldn't really hide their wealth when tax collectors came to inventor and to take it from them. Nowadays they can. He said that roughly 64% of the global profits are parked offshore for an important part by multinationals from the first world. Then he gets into talking about the third world. The third world is the victim of this practice, and he said an example is from the banana industry. Exporting a banana from the Cayman Islands costs around 30 pence. When it arrives in the UK to be consumed, the costs have grown to around 60 pence. And he said all this money goes to other parties than the Cayman Islands because the tax havens countries from the third world have and are not able to receive the tax incomes that they are entitled to. Sorry. Henry in his speech even concludes that the debt problem of the third world is not a debt problem but a tax problem, and both amounts to almost the same thing. And he then gets into talking about how 10 million people on the planet have a net worth of $1 million, which I wish it was me, but and then a happy few that own 30 million or more net worth, how they account for about 30% of the global financial wealth. He then puts a quote on the screen saying that it is capitalism that is truly radical, and that was by Brecht. And at this point, I don't think the audience is too involved with the speech because it's really quiet. There's coughing in the background. You can hear a pin drop. It's just, it doesn't seem like they're very into the speech and to the public speaking event here. Then he puts two more quotes on the board. And the first one is, democracy begins with Act of Faith by William Jones in 1989. And then the second one, it says, the task is not to make necessary what is possible, but to make possible what is necessary. which I agree with both those quotes. I think they're very important. But so that's really all the information I got from the video. Now I'm really just going to talk about his like body language and stuff like that during the during his public speaking. And in my opinion, it just wasn't very good. I mean, I already said in the beginning that his stuttering was very bad. He did it a lot throughout the video. Another thing he did was he wasn't asking very many questions to the audience, or like trying to do anything that kept them involved. It just seemed like it was really like slow, boring video and or public speaking event. Another thing was he kind of had like a slouched kind of like stance up on the stage, which is another reason why I think the audience wasn't very involved. Because if I'm in the audience and I'm seeing some guy just slump down and not having a lot of energy in his speech, then I'm going to think it's very boring and that he doesn't, and I'm not going to care because it looks like he doesn't care when he's doing his speech. Another thing I noticed during his speech was his eye contact. There was a lot of times in the video where he would look down, he would look up, or he'd look at the screen when he was talking. And from what I learned in my speech class last spring, some main things you need to work on when you're doing a like public speaking or doing a speech is eye contact, body language, tone of voice, how to keep the audience involved. And I just felt like he did none of those. I don't think he really changed his voice too much. It kind of sounded like he was speaking in a monotone. But the eye contact was bad. He really rarely made eye contact with the audience. And if he did, I think it was because in the video you could hear like people in the audience cough or sneeze, and I think maybe that would get his attention so he'd look. But other than that, compared to the other videos that I've watched, this guy's body language and just overall keeping the audience involved has been the worst. I mean, I noticed throughout the whole video, the audience, there was no questions being asked. There was no noise. They were just out of it. I mean, you could literally hear a pin drop in that auditorium if one did. I mean, you could hear him coughing and sneezing. They just weren't involved, and I think that's just due to the lack of questions being asked or lack of jokes if he needed to do those. But that's just my opinion. That's all I got.